Hi, my name's Rob Scott from UC Today, bringing you the latest news and conversation from the unified communications and collaboration space. So today I'm joined by Micah Singer, who's a managing director from TeamMate Technology, and we're going to be discussing TeamMate as a channel opportunity and why it's so popular right now and how you can protect your customer base whilst enjoying the Microsoft Teams wave. Welcome, Micah.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, good to have you. And first of all, before we kick off, and it's going to be an interesting conversation, so stay tuned. But before we kick off, Micah, how about you just give us a quick intro? Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been in the telecom industry for about 20 years. Started a company and sold it in 2016 after a long run there, and then really got excited about what Microsoft was doing and started TeamMate Technology right after wrapping up the last venture. And it's been a wild ride. So this company's existed since beginning of 2019, and we, like Microsoft Teams, have just really exploded in an exciting way.
Fantastic. Yeah, and it is an exciting time, especially to be in the Microsoft Teams ecosystem. So, Micah, just before we kind of dive into kind of exactly what you do over there, tell us a little bit more about kind of what's dominating the conversation, first of all, because PBX or phone system functionality in Microsoft Teams seems to be in every other Microsoft conversation I'm having. So, what's happening out there from your perspective?
So it's this huge market. People say 300 to 400 million business users around the world use PBXs, and Microsoft Teams has introduced something that it seems to be interrupting that market. So all of the service providers and the resellers and everyone out there who's in this huge ecosystem is trying to understand, where do we fit with Microsoft Teams. So tons and tons of questions and forum boards and just so much chatter and interest in this topic.
And in terms of the functionality that we're talking about, just talk us through that functionality. What are we talking about exactly when we say PBX in Teams?
Yeah, so there's been a lot written and said about direct routing, but for me that was the special day was June 28th, 2018, when Microsoft announced direct routing and finally sort of cracked the nut of how to put SIP into Microsoft Teams. So create a SIP channel, a SIP trunk, essentially. And then later 2019, they released the Graph API, which lets you put applications and really put meaningful data, basically integrate into Teams. So the tools exist, and we're software companies around the world, TeamMate very much included, are trying to figure out what service providers want to put in Teams and what we can allow them to do and what Microsoft's allowing them to do. So that's integrating in, it's SIP and applications.
Great. And for many channel partners out there, I suppose, Microsoft Teams was seen as a huge threat at one point, but, actually there is a silver lining there. So talk us through TeamMate. How does it work, and what's the opportunity for the channel?
Okay, so and of course, any change is a threat to an existing order. So I think a lot of service providers have felt threatened, and I think some of the earlier iterations of Microsoft's attempts at telco were more threatening. Microsoft's really taken a partnership and an inclusive approach by opening up, and what that's done and what we've done is we've tried to facilitate service providers taking channels and others who sell PBX taking advantage of those tools. So building and automating the build of the direct route, that's sort of a table stakes. So you can call from within Teams using the Teams tools and the Microsoft Calls app, but then also creating what amounts to a studio for building a custom application that supports that PBX and goes into Teams and really takes some of the real estate on the dashboard. One of those icons on the left is really important. So we really focused on how can service providers most meaningfully build their PBX or their external services into Microsoft Teams and to really delight the users, the end users, and make it easy for them.
Great. So let's talk about those channel use cases or scenarios. I suppose from the first one that jumps to mind, based on what you've said, is that you've got channel partners out there currently that have probably got a customer base of PBXs. They're enjoying maintenance revenues and whatnot year on year, and all of a sudden there's this threat of Microsoft Teams. But rather than lose the customer, I suppose there's an opportunity to connect those worlds together. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And so from TeamMate's perspective, Microsoft Teams is great. It does lots of things, but as it pertains to telephony, it's a soft phone. So what Microsoft's built is a soft phone, and that SIP channel that they announced with direct routing was really key. I mean, every soft phone has to speak SIP back to the PBX. So what we're doing is, first and foremost, facilitating the user in Teams to link directly to be that same user on the phone system on the PBX. And technically speaking, it's a SIP user registration, but really that makes all the difference.
Micah, there's not many organizations out there providing this service. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There's really just TeamMate and a competitor of ours called Call to Teams. And really what we're both doing that's unique is we've put in a back-to-back user agent, as you can see in this diagram, that sits between the PBX and the Microsoft Teams world and normalizes all the complexity. So that's the competition. What we've done to distinguish ourselves, I don't know if anyone else is doing this quite yet, is in addition to that activation, in addition to making the SIP work, we've put an application. We've allowed the service providers to build an application, a custom application that they insert into Teams. And this application does a bunch of things. I mean, it relays messages from the PBX, like you got a voicemail or your status is turned to off, into the activities feed in Teams. So the common currency in a lot of these systems like Teams and many others we all use is notifications. Like on your cell phone, you get notifications. It's a banner. It's really important to get those. And Teams is really the place where a lot of corporates get that information. So we're using those tools. Again, this is the Microsoft Graph API integration. And service providers can build, with the feature codes they want, the soft keys, and even, as you can see here, the portals from their existing PBX built right into Teams, in addition to this native dial pad. And that's a compelling value prop.
Fantastic. You mentioned service providers then. So service providers with cloud communication stacks, I can imagine can take advantage of this type of solution. Is this appropriate for maybe the reseller that's got an on-prem base of Mitel systems, for example?
Absolutely, yeah. No, this is the common currency is SIP. So many of our current customers are selling on-prem systems, Avayas, Mitels, NECs, Panasonics, and what this often does for that crowd is it lets them skip a generation. So instead of upgrading the PBX on-prem, they put Microsoft Teams as their UC front end, and with a soft phone in it from their existing PBX. So doesn't interfere with their structure. The desk phone still works, the PBX still works, but now Microsoft Teams also works. And if they have a cool portal, they can also make it, really one click for the user, all in Teams.
Fantastic. So for anyone out there looking, for this type of functionality, they're going to come across two providers. So let's just recap on those differentiators, Micah, if you don't mind, in terms of why are you different to the other player in the market?
Yeah. So when I first had this idea, what I was thinking of was the user experience. And so what we've done is focus on what's going to, the word delight the user, make it efficient for the user to use their PBX without leaving Teams. And so you need the dial pad. It needs to be integrated, and that's sort of similar to our competitor. But there's more to a PBX than just a dial pad. There's soft keys, there's notifications, there's a portal. There's more tools that users want, and so we started by building that. That was part of our initial product rollout, was the activation and the application studio, and that's really been something that service providers now as more and more people understand Teams is important, there's a lot of, we'll call them Me Too products. Hey, we've just activated the dial pad, but that's Microsoft's dial pad. So it's cool that it works, but it doesn't give you any branding, and it doesn't give your user any additional features beyond what Microsoft can provide. So the app is really something that's super important, because every one of our customers, every channel, every service provider has they built their own app in there, so it does something slightly different. It's not Me Too.
That's great. And for anyone looking to find out more about TeamMate, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, I mean, so we're right now we're an 11-person company. We're small, so I'm happy for anyone to contact me. I'm at Micah, M-I-C-A-H, at teammatetechnology.com. Of course, you can go to our website and sign up for a free trial. So try out the technology immediately and learn more about, we've got a bunch of articles and videos about how it works, as well as a deep knowledge base to pull information from to walk you through the process.
That's fantastic. Micah, it's been great talking to you today. Thanks for talking us through TeamMate.
Rob, thanks a lot for the questions. Great talking to you.
And that's it from us. If you've enjoyed today's session, please subscribe to UC Today News and give this session a quick share on social, as it's always appreciated. And if you're a UC fan and want to be part of the conversation, you can join us using the UC News hashtag on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. And our social links are in the description. So I'm Rob Scott from UC Today. Thanks for watching.